Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
No,
none taken.
That is right. None taken. I am the Movie Moron, and this is the Movie Moron podcast.
It is?
I want Spider-Man!
Sorry,
Oh,
it's just
do
me.
you?
What in the not J. Jonah Jameson was that? Or J.K. Simmons, I think is what I meant.
And then with us, as always, is our practical co-host, Trevor.
Ooh.
And then with us is our all-time guest, my wife, Tristen.
You serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rude.
Are you telling me you haven't watched that movie 1,000 times, so you didn't know that's what he was going to say?
No,
Oh.
I didn't know.
It's when Peter Parker asks for a raise in Spider-Man 1. Maybe 2. I don't remember. Probably 1.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But if you can't tell from these sound bites and the internet and everything else, we are doing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Pizza time.
It is pizza time.
Ooh, yummy.
I want pizza.
We're
So
all
yeah,
hungry. Don't do that to us.
we ate like 4 hours ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had chicken wings. That's not filling.
I
You
had
heard
a
it here
wrap.
first.
You what? Oh,
had a
that's right.
wrap.
You did. You
Um,
rapped and you had a rap.
Okay,
Wild.
moving on. We were talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is part 1 of a part 2.
Dun dun.
I don't know if it's like a trilogy, or if it's more than that. Who knows? But the animated Spider-Man movies by Sony about Miles Morales and the multiverse of Spider People, so yeah, we'll just get right into it. We'll do spoiler free for the 12 of you that haven't watched this already, because it's selling out all over the place and ahead of like every single blockbuster box office
Really?
thing ever. Yeah, it made like 57 million its first day.
I feel like a lot of people stand Spider-Man, and then a lot more, or like different people stand Spider-Man Spider-Verse stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, and that's for years. I mean, the Spider-Verse has always been a big part of like the Spider-Man story. Like even the 90s animated Amazing Spider-Man, the finale of that show was Spider-Verse stuff.
Okay, well, what I meant to say was a lot or like more different people.
Not everyone that's in love with Spider-Man. Like, there's a new group of people that are just here
Yeah.
for the Spider-Verse thing because they love the animation. They love
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. They're not
That's what I'm trying
Spider-Man
to say.
stands. They're just, they saw the first one, they're in love with it, and now they're just they're just Spider-Verse fans.
Yeah.
They don't like Spider-Man. They just like Miles Morales. They just like the Spider-Verse movies.
Well, what I meant was like, you know, people who like comic book fans that might be like, I don't watch the mainstream media because I'm into the comic books. Like, they would be on board with this, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Sure.
Probably. Okay, well, we're going to get in general thoughts. This movie, like I said, is already not breaking records, but it's selling out
Might as
everywhere,
well be.
making a ton of money. It's the number 4 movie rated on Letterboxd, like all time, with a
Allegedly.
4.7. It's not a legend if you go look it up.
It's a thing.
Which is insane for a movie to open up with that highest of a rating.
Would you say it's insane in the membrane?
Sure.
Good.
Yeah, so people are flocking to it, and people are absolutely praising it more than anything else I've ever seen, more so than Guardians 3, which I thought was crazy.
It's activating your hipster a little bit, isn't it?
Very much so. But yeah, let's get into general thoughts.
With your co-host, me.
That is correct.
Cool. I love this, Easton. I really enjoy it. So much so, I went and saw it with you guys today again.
Again.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Oh.
Should I leave?
Not unless you want dirt in your eye. Or
But no,
unless you want dirt in your eye.
and you know, we were talking about this off air, upon a second viewing, the stuff that I didn't like so much, I ended up really not liking. Conversely, there was some stuff that I remember in the moment being like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. And then it ended up working fine. So Overall, no, man. I really had a good time with this, and I'm trying. I do this with movies that I love. I can't it's hard for me to pick it apart because there's not much.
Yeah.
It does feel so. This is part one of a part two.
Well, pick apart the things that you like.
Well, and that's what I'm about to do. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, you don't have to just pick apart the things you don't like.
Well, we've talked about that before. Is like it's harder to talk more about a movie that you liked because you're like it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, voice act. I love all the voice acting. Andy Samberg has been Riley, and I keep forgetting that. Which I think is good. And then we talked after Daniel Kaluuya as Hobie, and I thought he does a great job. And but I think the things that I didn't care so much for with this, number one is it does, for as much of an original story as it feels, it does have some pacing problems in terms of like, okay, we need to make this a setup movie because it's a part one of two versus this is its own thing. But for the majority of the movie, it is more of its own thing rather than serving as a setup. Every character that we're introduced to is pivotal. They're not like check marking boxes that are like the good sequel boxes. And I think all sequels are like that. The best sequels are a continuation of the same story and not so much like a reaction to stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think so.
I feel like watching this, it feels like all the characters just exist in this universe and nothing ever really feels forced, I don't think. So like I said, the pacing was my biggest issue, and even then it wasn't even that big of an issue. The second thing is there's some dialogue in the beginning where they just say some things that are strange. Like in the first 10 minutes, Spider-Man 2099 is in this, and he gets called Dark Garfield, and then somebody that wasn't there when he was called that shows up and goes, "Are you mad because she called you Dark Garfield?" There's a couple little
I think they're all in touch through the wristband stuff.
But by then we don't necessarily know that. But regardless, it's a fine line, and I'm not like, this movie stinks because of that. Well, oh brother, this guy stinks. Anyway, yeah, and so there's just a couple things like that in the first half an hour where I'm like, okay, this dialogue's kind of strange. It doesn't really hit, or it doesn't totally make sense. Once again, not enough to hinder this really at all. And then there's some of the more dramatic parts. Miles talking with his parents. Some more stoic parts that they try to break with comedy that doesn't totally work, but works enough. Like Peter B. Parker has a conversation with Spider-Man 2099.
How the heck do you remember all of those things?
I'm a nerd, Tristen.
Okay.
I hate to break it to you.
Fair.
But no, yeah, and I actually noticed this time on the second watch, there's a new Spider-Man theme in this, because usually what they do, the Spider-Man, that's in the Tobey Maguire movies and the Andy Garfield. That's one
back to the old.
Yeah, because that was
shows.
the 90. Yeah, or the original one that you like. Yeah. Actually, you like because you're the only one here who's watching them. And then
yeah, they're good.
But the theme it just moves differently, but it's still the same like rhythm, like bum bum bum, like that thing. So if you ever rewatch it, it's all over the place. So try to pick it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway, I loved it.
Cool.
What about you, Tristen?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I don't think I could fully concentrate because I was starving. Not like a first world problem starving, not actually. But
you mean a first world problem starving, not a okay.
Yeah.
You did say that a little weird, but
okay, well,
we know what you meant.
Thank you. Yeah. And it was a tad long for my liking, but it was really good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time. I don't really have any qualms at the moment.
No qualms, you say?
No qualms.
Oh. No.
All right. Bring it on.
That's what I think about that.
There you go. Good job, sis.
Okay, now that everyone's left, I'm going to say my opinions so that I had to do that so nobody kills me because everyone loves this movie. And I'm going to not...
Be a hipster.
No, I'm not even going to be a hipster. This movie's...
Yelling. Go on. You're passionate. Just go.
This movie's really good. However, it's not that good. And that's the problem I have. Things I did like, they go a lot more into Gwen Stacy's backstory. It starts off with like a 10-minute prelogue of her story and where she's at, and then you're constantly thrown back into her world. I thought her world was really cool, or her universe, I should say, was really cool. They've always done a good job of showing different artistic styles throughout all the universes. They continue to do that with this one. They a lot of times feel like bits, which is fine.
Yep.
But they do oftentimes feel like bits throughout the movie. But with hers, it was much more of an emotional piece. And I thought that was really well done. You were confused on what was happening in the world that you were watching, but it felt authentic, and its emotion almost felt Picassoian and fluid, and I thought that was cool.
I'm gonna throw you out the window now.
That was
What is happening?
that was an accident.
Are you okay?
That was an accident, and these sound bites, once they start, I can't stop them. So it was kind of I guess this is happening.
Okay.
But that was Gwen Stacy dying, so kind of ironic.
Oh, nice. You like the world.
Yeah, no, I really like that world. Our main Miles Morales world was well done again. They do try to be much more dramatic in this movie than the first one. I think the first one feels more fluid in its story. This one feels kind of blocked, a little bit more choppy, just because of because they have so much drama throughout it. I don't know. The first one just felt much more fluid in its story. And I also think this one. I think this whole story is kind of on a weird beat with the whole multiverse. I think the first one touched with it just enough to where it wasn't an issue. I think now I'm kind of getting to the point of where there are going to be plot holes through the roof. And not that I've seen a bunch or whatever, or it's just multiverse stuff gets really messy. In the first movie, they did a great job of showing that it was there, but not explaining too much, not going too much into it so that it couldn't be messy, because it was a very selective, small piece of that multiverse. They've completely opened it up to everything, and I feel like it was a little much. I maybe they should have waited till the third movie and kind of progressed us to it. They didn't do that. They just opened the door wide open, and you see everything. I don't know. No, I'm losing some of my stuff, but
I have something to say.
Yeah.
I do wish that I would have watched the first one again before I watched this one, because I did not remember a lot of things. And they do a good job of recapping at the beginning of the movie a little bit, but still not enough for my brain.
Yeah. Some more good things. The characters are still extremely well done. Every character is extremely likable, at least when they're supposed to be likable. And the villains are menacing and feel that way, and feel unpredictable and whatnot, exactly like they should be. So they've done a great job with the character building, and the animation and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think the story just drags a little bit. I think that's the biggest issue. We've said before, it's a part one of a part two, and it's a 2 hour and 20-minute part one of a part two. I think that works if you're doing something like Dune. I don't think it works if you're doing something like an animated movie. Specifically this one, but really just any animated movie. You're doing a two-parter. Animated movies do feel like they should be, especially action ones, should be a little bit shorter. Something like Dune or Star Wars or whatever, they feel like you can spend a little bit more time because it's sci-fi and you're kind of setting up the world and such. But yeah, this did feel like it dragged a little bit, and it did feel like a part one. It felt like you were slowly getting through the beginning stuff so that the part two could happen.
Yeah.
You were about to say something?
I do, but I was trying to be patient.
No,
Are
you're good.
Okay. So this just hit me while you were talking about the different part situation. So the first movie came out in 2018, and that was stinking 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know that COVID happened, like, was a part of that. You know, like that we had some recovery time in Hollywood, but we're slotted to get Beyond the Spider-Verse on March 10th of next year.
Less than a year.
Less than a year. And so I'm curious, I'm wondering, you know, watching this, it felt like, I think maybe part of the reason the pacing was off was it felt like 2 acts looking at it. Because anytime I watch, I always try to, like, that helps me keep track of time and not lose patience. Like,
no,
trying
you're
not
right.
to, yeah. And
it 100% does feel like, it feels like Act 1, Act 2, and then 2 minutes of Act 3.
Yeah, like the transition into it, and then we don't get it. I wonder if they did animate this whole thing or like got close to it, and then maybe thought it'd be a better idea to release it as 2 parts, maybe. Or maybe they just waited until it was so that they could release them closer together.
Not to get into too much of spoiler stuff, maybe we'll get into a little bit more, but I think they should have cut this movie 5 minutes before they did.
I think so too.
They would have definitely. It would have felt like more of a movie.
Yeah.
Knowing that something else is going to happen. But they literally they pretty much give you what should be the first 5 to 10 minutes of the next movie at the end of this.
Yeah.
And I think
it felt more like an end credit sequence than it did.
And a really long one.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like I don't mind it, but it did feel like it ruined. Like everyone's talking about, oh my gosh, the cliffhanger. It like they gave you like a cliffhanger, and then they decided to stop that cliffhanger to show you that it's no longer a cliffhanger. That everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah, there's no sense of urgency at the end of it. Like, it's like they tried to manufacture some, but it didn't land.
But then they just clarify, or they resolve it. They resolve it before. It has time to actually be a cliffhanger.
Sure.
It's not like a what's going on, we need to figure this out. It's like,
this is going to happen.
How do I, yeah.
We know this is going to happen, and now, oh, cool, we get to see it in 10 months.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody talk.
Okay,
sorry, I thought I had to sneeze.
Okay.
It's okay. I do really like Miguel
O'Hare.
Yeah. Oscar Isaac is the voice actor of it. But nonetheless, I do really like his character. If you haven't seen anything about him yet, I'm sure you've. I guess you don't really know anything about him, so I won't spoil anything. But I like the way his character is shown, and I like our main villain, Spot. I think you've seen him in the trailer. He was definitely shown in that. He's an interesting character. Maybe a little underused. He seems like just a plot vice to get you to the areas that they want you to get to, which isn't the end of the world. I'm not like, that's not something to dock it on. It's just
dock it.
It did just feel like the movie lacked a significant villain for a very large part of the movie, and you kind of knew. I mean, you kind of knew where it was eventually going once you got like 45 minutes in.
Yeah.
And you were just kind of waiting for it to get there. I think it did it in an interesting way, not what I expected, but I was expecting it to eventually get to that point.
Yeah, so. I think to hit on your thing from a second ago. I think, this movie lacks a true antagonist, and instead opts for like adversity. Like we know that Miles Morales is our protagonist, and it's more of like, what trials is he facing, rather than, this is the villain and their goals don't align, and how is Spider-Man going to stop him, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, Most.
I want to say this too, just so you guys can keep me. Just so we can help me remind me later. I think there's 2 or 3 times, like you mentioned, where the movie could have ended on like what could have been a really good cliffhanger. And I wonder, now that I said that out loud, I wonder if they did it for more the kids' sake, to be like, just so they like. But I don't know. Because I saw a lot of
Grandkids.
young kids in the audience, and
we had one talking the whole time.
Yeah, behind us.
and I think that
Oh yeah, you weren't sitting with us. You know.
no, I was
Yeah,
like,
we had a kid
second
that was-
row, baby.
We had a kid that was very vocal.
Yeah.
Eventually, his mom or dad eventually took him out because he wouldn't stop.
They kept
Like,
going.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah, I heard the shushes.
Yeah, he was talking like fine, like not like just a
He
kid
wasn't, like,
excited.
yelling,
Yeah.
yeah.
just a kid excited to see it. But like once there was like 20 or 30 minutes left, he started like actively talking during the whole scenes, and so that's when they were shushing him, and he wouldn't stop. So they eventually took him out.
He wasn't that kid. Oh, so he wasn't the kid that went, "That's the end" when we got.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
But there's 2 or 3 times that I want to chat about that I think they could have wrapped this up really nicely. But like I said, maybe they didn't for the sake of the kids, so like the kids know where everybody is and that they're going to get another team up movie relatively soon and not end on such a bleak note.
Yeah. Anyways, so I don't know. I anyways feel like I was just dismissing what you were saying, but I mean that to say, continuing my thoughts. I don't really know what it is, but I just don't feel like it's at that level, and I feel like that's where everyone's putting it. I mean, it's getting put at, like I said, 4th highest of all time on Letterboxd.
And I think a lot of other people do agree with people that know a thing or two about filmmaking and like movies. I'm noticing a lot of people I follow on Letterboxd are in that realm are putting it more the 4.5 star range. And I mean, to be fair, like I have other friends that are putting it at 5.
Yeah.
But the ones that are putting it at 4.5, their reasoning is sound.
Yeah.
And so I think it's totally fine to call this good but not great.
Yeah, and I would even say like great, but like maybe not the greatest.
Phenomenal, yeah.
The greatest.
People are
movie
calling
of
it
all
the greatest
time.
Spider-Man movie of all time.
They're calling it the greatest comic book movie of all time.
Spider-Man 2 is right there.
The greatest comic book movie of all time, greatest Spider-Man movie of all time, the greatest movie we've had in 5 years, the greatest animated movie of all time. I mean, like, it's just they can't stop at like. I know we've been a little dry, in movies the last maybe 6 or 7 months, especially if you're these normie fans that only go and watch Disney or blockbuster movies. Then like you see something like this and you're like, oh hell yeah, like this is really good compared to Jurassic Park whatever and
Jurassic World.
The latest Jurassic World and the last I guess Guardians 3 was really good, but this may be a step above that. So it's like, oh wow, that was even better than Guardians 3.
Yeah.
And, trying to think of other big movies that came out recently, but Fast X, like, oh, I watched Fast X, but this is so much better than Fast X.
Right,
you know,
right. Yeah, maybe. And I think we should talk about more in spoilers, but also that I don't know that it's necessarily a secret. I'll save our spoilers anyway, but I want somebody help remind me. This movie makes some connections that I want to talk about, which I'm sure would have come up naturally anyway, but I want to make sure we talk about them.
Sure. I do have to say the music of this is nowhere near the first movie.
I know. I was
Well,
like, "Where's my boy Post Malone?"
And it had the whole. I mean, the first movie has the "What's Up Danger" scene where and that that's very hard to top.
and they also try to manufacture it.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people post about the scene, and I'm like, I can't wait for this scene. This is gonna be legit, and it completely was disappointing.
Oh.
Because they were like,
they were
like, this is Miles Morales, blah blah blah, like the What's Up Danger moment.
Yeah.
Like it was like this is the scene of the movie.
Yeah.
And we finally got there, and I'm like, this like has like almost zero climactic abilities to it. The song really is not anywhere near. I think they even used the same song. It just doesn't. They almost like tried to recreate it in a more serious moment, and like it felt way too manufactured. It wasn't. Yeah, it just did not land for me at all.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear what the scene was because I'm in the same boat because I didn't hear anything about that going in, and I don't think just watching it not knowing that, I don't know that there's any scene in this where Miles is necessarily like at the top of his game like he was in the first one. It won't spoil anything.
It's the train scene when he jumps off the train.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, that scene was really really picking up some stuff on my Twitter.
Interesting. Yeah. Maybe it's like, I don't know. But yeah, that like I said, that's what that What's Up Danger Scene is going to be. Even in the third one, that's going to be really hard to top.
Well, and just throughout, the music just wasn't quite as good. There definitely wasn't a song that was as good as Sunflower.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't top that at all. Yeah. And
Is that the needless to say?
Yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah. And they even like bragged beforehand how they were getting the artists that like helped with that song and some other stuff on it, and it just didn't land as well.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. Like I still love I still really love Miles. I still really love Gwen. Just realized, I'm sure I've realized it like 5 times over, but that Haley Steinfeld does Gwen Stacy, and I'm a big fan of her. And you know she's now dating Josh Allen, which breaks my heart. But
you know who's not in this movie that I was a little upset about? Nick Cage. Don't say it. I know that part, but I mean, like in general, he's there's no speaking parts.
In the first movie, he was Noir Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You were looking like, why are you saying that Nick Cage is in this movie? Or in the Spider-Verse thing?
No, I was looking at you like, you said don't say it, and I was like, I don't know what.
Okay.
I saw it in your eyes.
Yeah.
And so
just a cameo thing. We'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I was hoping to see, and actually I was hoping to see more of the original group. And we, like I said earlier, we do get Peter B. Parker. He makes a return, and then obviously Gwen. But yeah,
those are the main 3. The others may or may not
John
be.
Mulaney. Maloney.
What about
Pinky
John
Spider?
Maloney? Put him on a
Pinky
sandwich.
I mean, he is a ham Spider-Man, so
That's right. He is.
Could be on a
The
sandwich.
Spider Ham.
John Mulaney.
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 Okay. Do you guys have anything else you want to say, spoiler-free wise?
Negatory, good buddy.
No.
Okay.
I'm done talking to you.
Okay. This is gonna be pretty easy. We can just all say it together on one. But do you guys recommend this movie?
3,
Yes.
2, 1. Yes.
Heck yeah.
Great job doing it all together.
You didn't say anything.
He said yes before I started counting
Yeah.
down.
I said, so I'll say it together. Yes, and then Tristen started counting down.
I thought you said let's say it on one.
You did say it on one. Maybe you said all at one.
Yeah.
Maybe you said that. But I was
I probably
thinking
said all
3,
at
2,
once.
1.
I probably said all at once. Nonetheless, doesn't matter. You guys will all correct me and text
With
me.
the recorded evidence. Brandon will make another meme.
Great. No, go for it, Brandon. We
Did
love
you
your
see
memes.
that, Tristan?
No.
Tristan's not on Twitter.
Our
What's Twitter?
Our homeboy
Good for
Brandon, the original Brandon, he did the like, isn't it Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
And I don't remember the other guy. It's from Predator though.
Ice-T, right?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, it's them like doing the clutching fist, and it says Brandon's something like the original Brandon. Oh, the original Brandon discussing the Gray Man, the new Brandon discussing Sisu. And then it says the No Fun Police at the top.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess
It is
that's...
confusing that we have 2 Brandons.
Yep.
Well,
Get a new name, somebody.
Someone's getting a nickname.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for our spoiler-free part of the review. We're going to take a short little break, and we'll be back
B1 steak sauce.
right back for the spoiler part of the review. All right, we're back.
Flip. We're back.
After that short little break, now we're talking about all the spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you care at all and you don't want to know that... I was going to say, if you don't want to know that Miles Morales dies at the end of this, then go ahead and pause it. But
Sorry, podcast listeners.
you can't do anything to Tristen while she doesn't know, because she will freak out.
She'll yelp.
It was at least a yelp and not
That
a...
was like a,
It was a tad bit.
That
It
was like a-
sprinkled in there.
that was like the yop from Horton Hears a Who.
Okay, let's talk about the spoilers.
Okay, spoiler stuff.
I remember two things I
He
wanted to
doesn't
say.
die.
No,
that was a joke.
the
Oh,
joke.
okay. Exciting.
If anybody was still listening and didn't pause it in time,
I'm having PTSD from your finger. What?
That was oh no.
You guys.
Tristen. Anyway, we're finding a button. Now I'm nervous.
Pizza time.
I hate that. Anyway, the two things, moving past that. The two things I was going to say. Number one, so I think the two places that would have been the best to do a true cliffhanger, either one, when he gets cocooned up by the go home machine, like it could have just been his eyes and then it flashes and then it ends with Miguel saying, "We're the good guys." And then that could have been it. Or the other one is,
I think it definitely should have just ended with him being stuck in this 42. And Gwen being in his world, and then that's it.
I think
you don't need to have the team assemble.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it should have been the other one, is where Gwen says her little piece, and then the team jumps at the screen, and then instead of getting the whole Miles Morales 42 is the Prowler.
I think it's much more cliffhangery if it feels like Miles Morales is stuck in this world and there's no one there to help him.
It does, yeah.
And we don't get that. Now we know a whole entire team of Spider-Man
and
are all coming to get him, and they all have little wrist things to get straight to his world. So there is no. I mean, this is the same. I mean, it's actually even less climactic than Infinity War, because Infinity War, like, it was
obviously
dramatic,
yeah,
but you knew they were coming back.
Yeah.
This one, there's not even we know he's going to be saved. Like, we would have known that nonetheless, but now we even get, like, the team that's going to save them.
This is who's going to save, and this is how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So, like, it just felt like you definitely could have cut that to where, I think they actually should have cut it where Gwen Stacy was still in her home world, without a wrist walk. Like, and we don't get, or maybe the very end, she opens the gift.
Yeah.
And it's from Rockstar dude that we all love. We all stand
Hobie
or Punk Spidey.
Yeah.
I really wanted to hate him.
Oh yeah.
Loved him. He was great. He was dope.
He was dope.
And
he's cool. He's a real cool guy.
Yeah. Fuck the establishment. Good job, dude.
Yeah. The kids in August.
Including the Spidey establishment. So I love that. I love that progression. So,
yeah.
Like how his character was like, it didn't waver. Like he was always fuck the establishment, from like government to politics. Like,
I'm not doing this because you told me to.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, anyways, it was just consistent. And I like that. And we did talk a little bit how I liked that, like, weird, it was like putting it out to be a love triangle, but it wasn't. It was just Miles Morales thinking it was a love triangle, but in reality, it's really always been Gwen and Miles, and they know it. He was just a kid.
Yeah,
I know he doesn't want to be called that, obviously, but he's a young man that's nervous that his girl is going to get stolen, which is what every dude, when they're definitely in a talking stage or not, solid, you can think that. So, especially when they're sleeping over another dude's house.
And left their sweater there.
And toothbrush.
Man.
Get together, Gwen.
Anyways, I think it would
Hobie.
Huh? What?
I said, get us together, Hobie.
Anyways, what I was saying is I think it would have been much better if they just left it as that being the cliffhanger. Like, I don't mind us knowing that Prowler is Miles. I guess I told Tristen, I was like, oh, that's definitely Miles.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty obvious. So, like, there's no reason to cliffhanger it. And then, so that Miles Morales is, like, in this world, doesn't have a way to get out, and his dad's going to die in a day.
Yeah.
And he's trapped there by himself, and trapped by him. That has a double meaning. He's trapped by himself, but also by
himself.
Yeah. And then, Gwen is stuck in her own world. And then I do think, like, maybe even a after credit scene would be her getting, like, hey, somebody left this for you.
Oh,
You don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, I feel like all of that would have been much better than assembling an entire team and then knowing, okay, we already know this team is on their way there.
Yeah.
Now that's where we get the cameo of Nicolas Cage.
Mhm.
So he's obviously coming back.
We've got some John Mulaney quote from the first movie.
Yep. And we've got
which he's not in this movie, is he?
Who?
John Mulaney.
No, he's in
I
the
think
very end with Nick Cage with Spider-Man
I thought he had a
Noir.
line somewhere.
He does. That's
He
what I just
does.
said.
Well, I
That's what I'm
thought
saying.
like when they were all fighting,
Oh,
I thought he
gotcha.
had a line somewhere.
I was
and
on
then
the
we
lookout
have,
for him.
dang it, what is her name?
Oh.
Spider Bite.
No, it's from a video game. Overwatch.
Oh.
Like,
I know.
dang it.
I don't play Overwatch, man. I don't play anything. I play as
Well, anyway.
old school
Well,
Zelda and
nonetheless,
Halo.
the anime mech person, Diva, the Diva Spider-Man,
Sure.
because the anime mech Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we all know who I'm talking about. Okay, is basically just it feels like a ripoff of Diva.
Ah.
So that's what I'm saying. But she comes back, and yeah, Pig comes back, and yeah.
Yeah.
I think another reason this movie is probably getting pretty hyped praise is the success. So this movie is made by Pascal Pictures, who
Pedro?
the owner is Amy Pascal, who's actually in this book. I'm reading this book by Brent Fritz called The Future of Movies, and Amy Pascal was a executive at Sony, like a producer who really struggled keeping the studio afloat while Marvel was kind of swooping in and they were soaking up all the money and they were, taking over theaters. Anyway, so it was
Still
nice.
are, unfortunately.
Yeah. But it was nice to see that she's
Dismantle Disney.
finally kind of getting some credit after having to deal with that for so long and have to struggle with, arranging Spider-Man between Disney and Sony and Kevin Feige stuff. And
not fully
so that
selling
was-
the rights. Good job.
Yeah, and that was kind of cool to see Pascal Pictures at the beginning of this. But anyway, I think another reason this movie is getting so overhyped is that they do make a connection in the MCU. Doctor Strange from Earth 19999 is mentioned.
Yeah.
And then
Which is fine.
yeah, and then it's confirmed Danny Glover from Spider-Man Homecoming is the Prowler, and then there's a couple. Oh, and then we see the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are both their Uncle Ben scenes are in this movie.
Yeah. Which I mean totally makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and now this is not fully, but it's like, okay, this is a part of at least Sony's Spider-Man franchise, which is a part of the MCU franchise.
And the woman in the store
loosely, but
was
from Venom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, I think that's another reason people are so excited for it, is they're like, just because it's in their MCU thing and there's a connection now and people love those connections.
I don't know.
Just the theory. Game theory.
Yeah, it really does just blow my mind that it's this hot. Like I do think this definitely deserves praise. But I think this deserves praise on a Puss in Boots Last Wish level. Not this is the greatest thing we've gotten pretty much of all
you
time.
think it's animated Logan?
Oh, I didn't say that. IGN said that. But I don't know. That's really. I mean, it's not my only complaint with the movie. That's my biggest one, and that's a problem with just being in a Twitter sphere and public knowledge sphere and listening to other people's opinions on things. And if we didn't have the internet, I wouldn't know, and I would go and watch this movie, and I'd blissfully enjoy it and think, man, this was really good. And then I would talk to my friends about it, and we all say, man, that was really good. And none of us would say that this is the greatest movie of all time, but instead, that's what it's being listed as.
You get it fed to you every day.
Yep. And people that have no lives and just tweet 78 times a day about and the amount of Miguel and Miles Morales Avatar pictures, like Twitter,
Yeah.
that I see is just making me want to end it all. So,
Oh my goodness.
and that's what happens with any time a Marvel movie comes out.
Yeah.
My all of my feeds are just filled with those stands, Marvel stands. I guess there's a toy down there he wants. And I tweeted out today. I was like, I'm not going to forget. You are the same people that had this level of praise for Multiverse of Madness. You're the same people that were saying Marvel is back, cinema is back. We have Multiverse of Madness, a subpar movie that you guys praised like crazy. Same thing with Shang-Chi. I mean, it's like I can't take your stupid opinions anymore because you just give it out to any Marvel movie that's not dog shit. And this is well above that.
Yeah.
It's really good. But unfortunately, 6 months from now, somebody will see a subpar Disney movie or Marvel movie and they'll continue to glaze it. And there's no reference of quality in comic book movies anymore. It's either we hate Zack Snyder and we love Marvel, or we love Zack Snyder and we hate Marvel.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
It's me. I'm the in between.
We are the in between. We all justly grade these.
We are.
The youth of the nation.
Yeah.
Hey, you got it.
Yeah, I could listen to Christian bands growing up.
I was thinking of the Weird Al version, but
Oh.
yeah.
Well, I wasn't allowed to listen to that because that's not Christian. Okay. Any more thoughts?
Really dig the new characters.
Oh, Miguel, we didn't really talk about him at all.
Paviter, I think is how you say it.
Paviter?
Paviter. I think it's PVITR.
Who are you
is
talking
his
about?
name. The Mombasa
Oh,
Yeah.
the Indian guy.
or Mumhattan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indian Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They call him that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's fair if we do.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised that's not getting some flack with its extremely racist
This is the best
Depiction.
movie ever, Easton. Why would
Depiction.
it get flack for that?
well, it creates a whole entire world of
I was joking. But
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
just saying why. It's like it creates we have a pretty much Indian universe.
Yeah.
And the things that they depict are overpopulation, traffic like crazy, and like they just rehash those things
Yeah.
over and over again. And I feel like that's I was like I'm just surprised, like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, but I was surprised that didn't get flack to being like racially insensitive. That like, oh, that's what you take away from Indian culture. And so I was
they
just
talk about their good food.
they did. I mean, they talked about their spicy food because he eats. Spot takes a bite of the food. And he's like,
You're right.
which I thought that was a funny bit. And I think all of it, like, I really liked that world.
The chai tea and ATM machine
yeah.
thing. Was
Yeah, the
good.
chai tea was a
Yeah.
good bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, chai was a good bit.
Yeah.
I was just surprised that didn't get.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a problem with the way that we
Depict other countries in
depict
Hollywood.
other cultures. So I thought for sure that was going to get some sort of flack, and it didn't.
Yeah, him. I really dug him. We've already talked about Hobie. I think they're the two kind of. I think Hobie probably more so than anybody else. We also get Ben Reilly, not our friend Ben Reilly, who was on our previous
Spider-Man.
one
No
of
Way
the
Home,
movies.
or I think it was No Way Home.
I think it might. Yes. Or
It definitely
one of
wasn't
them.
Far From Home.
It was. He was on for
Maybe
some.
it was
Spider-Man.
Far From Home.
He was on
Maybe
for
it was-
some Spider-Man property.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was probably Far From Home or No Way Home, and it might have been Far From Home. It's been a bit. It's been a minute.
I feel like it was something else entirely, but maybe I'm crazy.
I feel like there's
Like in
only
their Spider-Man
3
property.
Spider-Man properties.
Yeah.
That's Into the Spider-Verse, Far From
Uh-huh.
Home, No Way Home. Definitely wasn't Homecoming because we weren't a thing yet.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so we get Ben Reilly. He's in a real cool 90s 2D animation.
yeah,
That was cool. The fight gets pretty memey pretty quick. The first one's good. The get Spider-Man and they all point at each other. Like,
Yeah.
that one was gonna be coming. But then we get the like Spider-Man like holding the web between two objects thing, and then that one-liner of "There's nowhere to run, Spider-Man." Oh, I guess there was somewhere he could run, or something like that. And there's another. When he's running between the enemies, and you see Doc Ock, and we hear the guy from Spider-Man 2 go, "Hello, Peter," or whatever. And so,
Yeah, definitely a lot of callbacks
Yeah.
during that whole thing, which makes sense because you have a whole entire universe, or you have 500 universes of Spider-Mans all at this one point. I do think that that's a little... This is what I mean where it starts to get a little too much with the multiverse stuff. Because now you have all of these Spider-Mans, or Spider people, because they're men and women, don't care, that are now all at one spot, which means they're no longer protecting New York.
well, maybe that's gonna be a problem in the next one.
Maybe, but I feel like I feel like that's not gonna be brought up. I think it's just supposed to be cool that we have this many Spider-Mans that are all together.
Yeah.
But it's like the whole thing about Miles Morales and Spider-Man is that there's so much happening in New York that he has no time to do anything. He has no time for relationships.
Yeah.
He has no time for his family. He has no time for school. And then now we're just putting them in this citadel of Spider-Man, and they can just chill and have tea and have therapy, and they have all the time in the world. And New York back of their universe is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's just
Intuitive? Counteractive.
Productive.
I can't think of the right counter word.
Okay.
Contradicts. Bam.
Yeah.
It contradicts the whole entire premise of Spider-Man.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah. And it makes them out to be, and now it makes all of them out to be this multiverse protecting being.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that the whole, I know we call it Spider-Verse. Miguel calls it something stupid, and he even calls it stupid. So,
Yeah.
But that whole idea is dumb to begin with. I think that's a very fragile way of looking at all of it. And I don't really love that premise. So
Sure.
that might also be another seed that's a reason where I'm like, it's fine, but I think that's a very weak, especially if we're going to have these movies going forward. If a Spider-Man doesn't have this perfect line of things happen to him, their whole reality breaks.
Yeah.
I don't really love that premise either.
Yeah.
So, and obviously Miles Morales doesn't either.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Because I think for me, it makes it, because it's making like it. If that is the reality, then Miles Morales is the bad guy. But we know that's not the reality because Miles Morales is the good guy. So it's creating a fake reality, which I think movies should never do. It's telling you this is the framework of the reality that the movie that we're watching is. And then it's going to decide to no longer stick with that reality because we can't have Miles Morales be the bad guy.
yeah.
Because if he does save his dad, he would break the whole entire Spider-Verse, and every single reality across the world would break and no one would cease to exist.
Yeah.
So he's the bad guy. But we can't have Miles Morales be the bad guy. So we're going to have Miguel be the bad guy by somehow misunderstanding this reality that we've decided to set to make Miles Morales the bad. So, like, I just don't like that whole premise. I just think it's flawed from the start.
Yeah.
It's that's a problem with multiverse stuff. It's very confusing to talk about. So maybe I made sense. Maybe I didn't.
No, you made sense. Well, I think so. There's the age-old thing of like, and even from like pre-comic book movie things, like comic books in general, there's always this idea of like, okay, well, if all the Avengers who protect their own cities, or all the Justice League who protect their own cities, are off on Citadel or off on wherever the Avengers go, HQ or something, who's protecting the cities? There's always been that question. I think it's always just kind of been implied that, not to say that's good or bad, but I think it's always kind of just been implied that like it's going to be fine. That, you know, that, and I think there's some, I mean, I'm positive there are some comic book issues or comic book stories that have utilized that of, oh, Batman's up with Citadel or up in the Citadel. Well, Gotham is going to run rampant. Well, you're gone. Sorry. And that's why he is the Bat. And then they combat that with like Bat family stuff. But anyway, so I think that's an inherent problem. But I think they're relying on us to use that and be like, okay, we just have to assume that that's going to be fine. But maybe it won't be. Maybe that is something they'll utilize in the next one. You know, Miguel maybe finds, and we're speculating now, but maybe Miguel finds that having this centralized location is a bad thing because he's taking all the Spider-Men from their home universes, you know?
And maybe there's a more sinister plan. I was really like, when I was, I don't know, almost towards the end of the movie, when we finally get that Miguel is a bad guy, we all knew it was going to happen. But when we finally get to that point, I was like, when I was seeing it all, I was like, I wonder if we're going to get to the point where Miguel is trying to eradicate all Spider-Man.
Maybe.
Because he didn't get the Spider-Man whatever that he wanted, so he's trying to get them all together so that he can destroy them all.
Possibly.
But I don't think, doesn't seem like that's the goal. But anyways, that's just a small big thing, whatever. Yeah. It's just something that did irritate me. Not like all of those things. That was multiple things into one. Yeah. But a big problem that I have with multiverse movies is it's going to go down areas that you can't.
Well, and even, I mean, and that's
justify.
Even comic books struggle with that too. Like the Batman Metal series in the past like 5 years or so, the same thing. You read Batman Metal, the first trade paperback, and they're all over the place. Yeah. And it's dimension jumping, and it's, you know, okay, well now, in order to get from point A to point B, we have to swim through space, and space is an infinite void of darkness. And well, how do you know to go here? Well, we have this crystal, and that's going to open this portal, and it's weird.
And we kind of get that with Spot.
Yeah.
Spot's just this.
He's an interdimensional being now. And,
and he can just manifest dots.
Yeah. Or at least he needs charged or whatever.
Yeah. He needs more dots, basically. Yeah. But he somehow figures us out by going into himself, which is a very spotty, dumb way of how that really happens.
Yeah. Excuse me. And I think that's, you know, we were talking about the dialogue earlier. There's a line he says where he goes, I had this empty void inside me. It's an empty hole. And you know, I filled it with more holes or something like that. And like, okay, that's not great. I don't know who okayed that line, but, and you know, I think, you know, we might even get this next movie and maybe Miles does choose to let his dad die, you know?
Maybe.
I think this is one of those situations where like we can sit here and speculate all day, but at the end of the day, I mean, we can probably just with the state of Hollywood and knowing, we could probably assess what's fairly good accuracy, but who knows? You know, we're not going to know until March. And
it might also be a problem. I've always had problems that have a solidified ideology of destiny, and this is right along with that. It's saying that every Spider-Man across every universe has a set destiny of like, these things have to happen, and if those things don't happen, then the whole entire fragile of the universe is at stake or whatever. It's like, yeah, these things happen to us, and we grow and become the people that we are because of these things. But also, if that specific thing doesn't happen, something else may happen, which forms us to be the person that we are. Yeah. So just because that one major event doesn't happen doesn't mean that no event is ever going to change us from that point on. So
I don't remember what that's called. River theory or something. There's like two theories about time, and one of them I think is like it's like fixed point, and then it's river. And so, like, fixed point is like what this is.
Oh, you mean like, when you get a drop in time, it makes ripples, and then when you have another drop, it creates ripples, and those ripples kind of overcross, and they change each other, and you have another drop. And,
With the fixed point one, that's what this is, where, okay, there's a fixed canon event, and if this does not happen, the universe crumbles because of the ripple thing.
I also think that's extremely flawed, because you're saying that Miles Morales is the only, or Spider-Man and Miles Morales specifically is the only person that could ever possibly not be on the canonical list, when there's a plethora of, there's billions and trillions of other people, and there's hundreds of other superheroes, and none of them will ever not decide to or ever combat their
Well, and
So-
I think I saw that argument on Twitter, and I think with are you okay?
A light just turned off or
Oh,
shut off or turned on or something. It really freaked me out. Oh, maybe this just went dark.
that did go dark. I did see
Okay,
that.
that was it. Out of the corner of my eye, it looked like all the lights down the hallway all just shut off, and I'm like, "Holy crap! What's happening?"
You're gonna spook me, man.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So that's the fixed point, and I think along with that, I think they're setting themselves up because they say Miles is the original anomaly. He is a Spider-Man. And maybe that's what they're going to use to get away with. He can save his dad. Is that he's an anomaly and he can do whatever. Speaking of that, I dig that Miles 42's Black Panther. His Prowler suit has like Spider-Man eyes. I think that's slick. I think that was a good choice. Anyway, and so I think I've been thinking about that, and if they're all Peter or they're all variations on the persona of Spider-Man, Peter B says, we're supposed to be funny, we're supposed to be quippy, blah, blah, blah. I think that gives some credence to the idea that they all would be on board with the way this works, because that means, like, it's just like you explaining to another version of yourself who has the same ideology or whatever as you.
Yeah.
And maybe we're going to find out in 3 that those that don't agree with him or don't do whatever, Miguel maybe just allows their universes to collapse or something like that, Anyway, so I'm like really trying to hold it all together. I'm having trouble remembering things, but
What was that thing you were going to talk about in spoilers?
I think I mentioned them right off the bat, the
Okay.
endings and then the connection to the MCU.
Cool.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the river theory. I remembered.
Okay.
So the fixed point is what this is. River theory is like, okay, if Gandhi never was born or died at an early age or something, and wasn't there to protest against the British Empire, somebody else would have come along and fulfilled that role. It didn't have to. He doesn't necessarily have to be that person, but somebody has to be, and that's like river theory or something like that.
Yeah.
Like if you were never going to start the Movie Moron podcast, somebody would have come along and started something similar or something like that.
There are thousands of people, maybe even millions of people that have thought to do the same thing and have.
I know. I was just trying to think of a personalized, personalized scenario.
Yeah, I did have one more thing. Oh, I do like the anomaly thing of how Miles Morales is the original anomaly and how Miles Morales wasn't meant to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I do think that's a cool wrench in this story.
I do too.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, and how it was obviously planted that way from the first movie. We just didn't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like that the reason why Spider-Man died was because Miles Morales was also Spider-Man. I don't know if I'd love that line of thinking, especially because we have another instance where there's a Miles Morales and a Spider-Man at the same time, which is the PS5 game, PS4,
Oh, yeah,
Sony,
yeah.
which is also Sony,
Insomniac
and
Spider-Man, I
are
think what
also
they call it.
canon
Yeah.
in these movies.
Yeah,
because
he's playing the game, and then we see Insomniac Spider-Man.
Yeah, we see and Miles Morales and Peter Parker are both in New York and both Spider-Mans at the same time together living peacefully. So like we've already seen that that's not the case. Every universe does not have to have one Spider-Man. There can be multiple.
Yeah.
It also doesn't make sense that only one radioactive spider can ever possibly be in a universe at once.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, if we have a infinite universes of whatever, then there would technically be a whole entire world of nothing but Spider-Mans because everyone got bit by the spider. But nonetheless, that's more problems with multiverse stuff. But I do like the anomaly thing. And then before we get out of here, you asked the train scene. I told you that everyone was talking about the moment.
Yeah.
And it was when he stood up on the train and
jumps off.
Yeah, and he jumps off and it breaks the train glass because he jumps off with such force and they I felt like they were trying to recreate
the skyscraper.
Yeah. And everyone was like, this is Miles, like that was the showcase of Miles Morales' moments. And I mean, like, it was a good moment, but it was not anything super spectacular. It also doesn't show how he
got down.
Yeah, he's jumped off and flew perfectly fine. There was also a time where Peter B. Parker was just flying.
Oh yeah, he's falling and then he flips away.
Yeah, but it looked like he was just flying next to
With
Gwen.
his robe.
Glenn looked like Glenn.
You said Gwen.
Okay, good. Yeah. Gwen
now you
was
said Gwen.
no, I said Gwen that time. Okay.
That's what it-
Gwen was swinging and he was just flying next to her.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, do Spider-Mans fly now? Are they half Superman?
So slippers, man.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That was the moment. You asked what it was, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
specify. I saw a lot of people talking about it on Twitter. I think Tristan's ready to get out of here. Okay. Ratings? Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ratings.
5 out of 5.
4.
Oh. I had this movie on our draft,
Mm-hmm.
so I have every inclination to make it as high as possible.
Hey, Tristen took away a star from hers.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm also at 4. I'm in between a 4 and a 4.5.
Yeah.
That's where I was, and then I
Yeah.
stuck with 4.
But I think my hatred of people is making me want to put it at a 4. So it's not hatred of people. I love all people, but just how people express their opinions and movie opinions frustrate me. So I think that's where I do think this movie could definitely get a bump after the second movie, Beyond the.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If Beyond the Spider-Verse kind of fills the gaps and the problems that I personally have with the movie, obviously most people don't have, but that I have, and they have a great sequel to it, I think this could be up to a 4.5. But I do not think this is. I mean, just my opinion. I do not think it's a 5. I think it's.
What are we gonna fight or something? You got to be all defensive.
But yeah, I don't feel this touching a 5. I do think Beyond the Spider-Verse could be a 5 because it feels like it's going to be much more of a fast-paced action. Getting to see the people that we like, really going at it. And I like the villain of Miguel. I think he's a pretty cool villain. So seeing them beat him up could be good.
And I was the same way with Dune. I mean, I rated that a 4.5 just because it's half a story.
Yeah.
And
I also rated that a 4.5.
Yeah. And this one, I think like I said, personally, I think because we have into this one guy gets a little bit of a pass to be a little different and be more of half a story.
Yeah.
So
that's also what makes it weird to me is the fact that you have half of a story after a first one.
Yeah.
That feels weird to have a movie and then an introductory movie after you've already had your first movie. So it feels a little odd.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world. Just odd. Just odd. Okay, well, that's all of our thoughts. We've got 2 4s and a 5. I was really hoping Tristen was going to rate this a 4.5 to help my numbers, but she didn't. Our telepathic speaking wasn't working very well, but that's okay.
So what is that like? Isn't it maybe like a 4.6,
Yeah.
4.75, something like that?
Yeah, I have it all. Although the Letterboxd community is helping me out, so thanks, Rose. Even though I don't like you right now, you're helping me out.
I want to know where we're at. We don't have to talk about it right now, but
I can give you guys an update. I haven't updated in a few weeks, so I may not have all of our things. I do know I got absolutely slammed from Beau is Afraid, so.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that one kind of kicked my ass. So, but okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back next week with Transformers:
Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah,
Without Shia LaBeouf.
real excited for that.
Without Marky Mark.
Without anybody you care about. So
So sad.
I
great.
like the main guy in that.
Not Megan Fox.
I don't remember what his name is, but I like him.
I honestly
I know nothing
don't
about
remember.
this movie.
I don't know. Nothing has really been significant.
It's a totally new guy, I think.
Yeah, nobody's been significant in those movies since. Once Shia LaBeouf left, that my interest
Sad
from the
day.
movie left.
Let's watch all the Transformers movies leading
Okay.
up to Rise of the Beasts.
No, we've got other things.
You don't
to
want to
watch.
hear those Linkin Park end credits?
No, I personally, I really like 1 and 2. I do have no problem watching 1 and 2, but I do not want to watch 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
They're So
There's that many?
I
There's
think
a lot,
I,
yeah.
I think this is the 6th or the 7th.
I think so too.
Wow.
Yeah. And they all, even back in 2007 when the first one came out, still looks better than the last Marvel movie we got. So good job, guys. Yep, that's what we're doing next week. Thank you guys so much for listening, and have a good one.
Hey, moron!
You talking to me? You talking to me?
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello?
What an idiot!
Well, what do you expect? I'm the movie Moron.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Don't call me stupid.
Oh, right! To call you stupid would be an insult to stupid people! I've known sheep that could outwit you.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
No, none taken.